As soon as you place the rice in your mouth, it just gives up all its flavors. This meat certainly has a flavor all the way down to the bone. Hi folks, this is Kripal Amanna and welcome to another episode of Gourmet on the Road. And today we're going to be exploring the biryani here in Bengaluru. Now in Bengaluru, we love our biryani and especially the spicy Andhra-style biryani. Now when it comes to Andhra-style biryani, there are two establishments that rule the roost in the city. One is Nagarjuna, an eatery that has been around for decades, has a massive following, and then there is Meghana's, a relatively recent eatery but has still been around for many years and commands its own loyal clientele. And today we're going to taste the biryani at both these establishments, and I'm going to give you my take on what I think of the biryanis at Nagarjuna and Meghana's. So stick around till the end of this episode. We've got a spicy treat lined up for you. So we're sitting here at Nagarjuna. It's just past 12, but the place is buzzing already. It tells you of the popularity of this establishment out here. Of course, a meal here is a banana leaf affair, and that's what I'm looking forward to, tasting some great biryanis on this banana leaf. The leaf looks clean already, but just a tradition to sprinkle some water on the banana leaf and just wipe it clean. On chicken biryani, but on mutton biryani. So we will taste the biryanis here, the chicken biryani and the mutton biryani here at Nagarjuna. So I've got both my biryanis here, the chicken biryani and the mutton biryani. Now when you look at it, it looks identical. And I was just asking him, I said, how do you know which is a chicken and which is a mutton? He said in the chicken biryani, it's served with a lemon wedge face up, and in the mutton biryani, it's served with a lemon wedge face down. So as always, we will begin with the chicken biryani first. So I have my chicken biryani here on my banana leaf, and even as he was serving it, you could smell those aromas wafting from that urn containing the biryani. This is certainly an aromatic biryani. Also, if you look at the rice, so it's the long grain basmati rice. You can see some tomato, you can see some coriander, you can also see some cloves. So there's a fair bit of spice that goes into this biryani. Let's taste the biryani. This biryani is full on in its flavors. As soon as you place the rice in your mouth, it just gives up all its flavors. You can see some cardamom as well here. There's some cloves. I got a piece of cashew as well in this one. Tender cashew. Time now to taste the meat, the chicken. That rice certainly was flavorful. Let's see if the chicken also has that flavor. The chicken is mellow in its flavor. You certainly need to taste the rice and the chicken together to make for one flavor-some mouthful. At least that's what I'm hoping. Well, typically the Andhra biryani is supposed to be spicy, and it is spicy, but it's not that overbearing chili heat. It's a sort of gentle spiciness that creeps up on you slowly. And that's what this biryani is all about. I'm going to taste the biryani next with some of this gravy that's served with the biryani. So this is a gravy that I'm told is made with chicken, perhaps chicken bones, just to kind of help moisten the biryani, just to impart a little more flavor to the meat. So there you go, I have a bite of the biryani, the rice, the chicken and that gravy. That gravy certainly helps moisten the palate. Taste the meat just with the gravy. The meat is a trifle chewy, but comes together nicely with the rice and the gravy. You know, that rice was so tasty, I had to ask for another small helping. I need to actually paste my biryanis because I still have a few more biryanis to taste today. I got a piece of the chicken drumstick. The last piece that I tasted was the chicken breast, but the drumstick is where there's more flavor, and this also feels a lot yielding to the touch. It peels away effortlessly. You can see that light pink color of this chicken drumstick, which has all that flavor. That piece of chicken is soft and requires barely any effort to chew. It's as soft, it's as yielding as that. That's a delicious piece of meat. So if you have a choice of the piece of meat, order for the drumstick. That's certainly where there's more flavor as opposed to the chicken breast. I'm going to have my last mouthful of the chicken biryani, so I'm going to make it count by bringing together everything that goes into it to give it that flavor. Perhaps even one of these cloves. Not to forget a little bit of the gravy, just to give it a flavor boost. That's a happy mouthful right there. Having licked off my chicken biryani clean, I think it's time to bring the big boy, the mutton biryani next. Okay, lovely. That piece of mutton, oh wow, that looks delicious. Thank you. I almost lost that piece of mutton there. So the biryani, the mutton biryani looks identical to the chicken, but of course this has the mutton in it. And there are 2 pieces of mutton that I see in my biryani and some toasted cashew. There's also some cinnamon that I see here. Well, appearance wise, the rice looks very similar to the chicken biryani. Of course, the biryanis here are made on dum, and that's how they finish the biryani. It tastes very similar in flavor to the rice in the chicken biryani, but perhaps the spices are a little more accentuated in this particular biryani. You can certainly taste the mellow heat of the spices a little more, a wee bit more. I can't quite decipher what this is. I think there's some pineapple bits, if I'm correct, that go into this biryani. But you can certainly taste the fiber of those pineapple bits, but the taste is very savory, perhaps having soaked up all the spices. I've got the perfect piece of meat here because this piece of meat here has a bit of the fat as well. You can certainly taste a bit of that gamey flavor that comes from the fat. Kind of reminds you that you're eating a mutton biryani. I think in most places when you're eating a mutton biryani, you have to struggle a bit to find that piece of meat. Unlike a chicken biryani, which is always, I think, more meaty in terms of the volume of meat. This piece of meat has the meat and also a wee bit of the fat. Time to get some gravy onto the rice. The rice is so flavorful, actually it doesn't need that gravy. But since we have that gravy here, why not? Perhaps also spike it with a bit of the lime, a wee bit. So this piece of rice has the gravy and also that lime and some chili as well. You can feel that masala hit from the spice and the tartness of the lime that I've just drizzled over the biryani. Now to go for my second piece of the meat here. This is more meaty as opposed to the first piece. There's a lot more meat here, but it doesn't have as much fat, so therefore it feels a little firmer to the touch as opposed to the first piece. That piece of meat though is cooked just right, but I think you need to combine that with the rice to really make for a complete mouthful in terms of flavors. I like the quality of the mutton in this mutton biryani. So when you come here and order the biryani is great on its own, but also order another side just so that you get a little more meat in that biryani experience. Well, we've just tasted the biryanis at Nagarjuna. The biryanis were tasty, satisfying. Next, we are on our way to taste the biryanis at Meghana. So it's 2 o'clock here, and Meghana Biryani and Meghana Foods, actually the name of the eatery, so popular that every table here is taken, and the only table that we have is the table by the door. That's where we are sitting here. My goodness, so there's an incredible list of biryanis here. There are at least about 11 or 12 of them that I can count. So they do a chicken biryani, a boneless version. We're going to taste that. Then give me one chicken biryani and also give me one mutton biryani. Nice to have this plate full of salad. A nice touch, a healthy touch, especially since I've ordered 3 biryanis. And then we have the veg gravy, which I found a little intriguing considering the fact that we've ordered a chicken biryani and a mutton biryani, but nonetheless. And then we have this raita, nicely garnished with some coriander and also some jeera seeds that I can see. So I've got my 3 biryanis here. This is the mutton dum biryani. There's some mutton pieces hiding under this rice. And then of course you have the chicken biryani. You can see the leg of the chicken that's peeping out of this bowl of biryani. And then this is the hugely popular Meghana's boneless chicken biryani. This is, I'm told, the hot seller. This outsells all other biryanis 4:1 out here at Meghana's. Let's taste these biryanis now. Thank you. So this is the Meghana's boneless chicken biryani. As you can see, there's boneless chicken which is tossed in some masala, which is their signature masala, I am told. And you have the rice. And I think what makes this biryani hugely popular, in addition to the taste of the biryani, which I have to taste, I'm told is the fact that people can share this biryani. So you've got all these tiny boneless pieces, so it makes for a biryani that's easy to share. So this is again a long grained rice, basmati. So all that you see for the most part is the rice, and you see flecks of coriander at the most. What I like is that each grain of the rice is separate. It's not clumped together. Let's taste the rice. That rice and that masala certainly delivers a kick, a spicy kick. So this chicken is coated in a masala, in a light batter. So I'm sure there's some egg that's probably gone into this, and the spices of course. The meat is soft and the spices are gentle. In this biryani, all that I can see is the rice. Of course, the rice that's tainted by the color of the masala, the spices. I can taste the masala. The masala is more in the boneless chicken pieces, but you can't really see any of the other hard spices that would have gone into it. All that you see is the curry leaf and flecks of coriander here and there. Let's now taste the biryani, the rice and the chicken together. The chicken is soft and packs a flavorful punch. Having tasted this, I can certainly understand why this is as popular a biryani here. You can see this gravy is dense and rich. Taste a wee bit. I want to taste the gravy just by itself first. It's quite mellow actually, as opposed to the spicy kick of the biryani. The gravy is quite mellow. So I think what the gravy does here is that it provides a gentle relief in between tasting spicy mouthfuls of the Meghana biryani. As you can see, the chicken is coated in this spicy batter, lending more volume to the meat. Because the way this biryani is served with all those boneless chunks of meat on top, it's difficult to get just at the rice, but that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to enjoy the rice with those tender morsels of chicken that's coated in that spice encased batter. Now that I've polished off the boneless biryani, time to taste the chicken dum biryani. Thank you. So I've got the chicken biryani now on my plate. So there's this leg of chicken which looks nice and juicy, and then you've got all this rice. And what makes the rice special, flavorful, is the masala that you see smeared in between flecks of the rice. That masala is what contains all the spices that go into making this a flavorful biryani. So when you're tasting the biryani here at Meghana Biryani, if you want less spice, just taste the rice by itself, and that carries within itself a generous dose of the flavor. But if you want to spike up the flavor, find yourself some of these masala, mix that into your rice and go for it. There's also a tart edge, a slightly tart edge to the masala. You also taste the onions, the burnt onions, the brista that's also in that masala. I can taste the caramelized edge of the onion that have been fried down to its essence to give you that savory flavor. Now this chicken is nice and warm to the touch, and it's cooked perfectly all the way through. As you can see, it's cooked to the bone, just perfect. This meat certainly has a flavor all the way down to the bone. You know, typically otherwise when you're eating chicken in a biryani, while the rice may have the flavor, the chicken sometimes doesn't tend to pick up the flavor. So all that you taste is the meat, and chicken by itself doesn't have as much flavor. But this piece of chicken here has trapped all the flavors of the spices, of everything that goes into this biryani, making this a tasty, meaty bite. I must say that the biryani here is rich in its spice. It leaves you feeling a little more than satisfied. But I still need to taste the mutton dum biryani here. This is the mutton dum biryani here at Meghana. Again, the rice, you just see the rice and little else. You don't see any spice floating around. You don't see any cloves, cinnamon whatsoever. All that has gone into the masala, and the essence of that masala is what's gone into that rice. So the approach to cooking the rice is quite different here, if I may say so, almost refined in the way they cook their rice. So you don't have bits of the spice that you bite into. I personally like that, but some of you may not really relish the thought of biting into a clove. At Meghna's, you don't have to worry about that, because all that you have is a rice which has trapped all the flavor of the spices of the masala. As I taste the rice for the mutton biryani, I can certainly sense that the masala here is mellower than the masala that I tasted in the rice of the chicken biryani. Taste some of that meat now. So I've got a lovely piece of meat here which has also caught some of that masala. That peels off effortlessly. That meat once again traps all the flavors of that biryani. The meat has a bit of a bite. It's not the softest meat, but then sometimes you want your piece of meat to have that bite. You want to be able to bite into it, and that's what you do with this mutton biryani here. Thanks to the subtle spicing of this biryani as opposed to the chicken biryani, you can taste the flavor of the meat. Time to taste the meat with the rice. So if you want a more savory, masaledar mouthful, there certainly is plenty of the masala wrapped around the meat in that bowl of rice to look for. You can certainly taste the robust spicing when you reach for that masala. So it's all the spices and led by the onions, the fried onions. You don't see it on the plate, you don't see it in the bowl, but you can certainly taste it. So the biryanis here at Meghana Foods certainly leave you feeling satisfied and a little sated, because that's how rich these biryanis are. So what you certainly need to wrap up your biryani meal here is some of this raita, just to help settle things down in your belly. That cool, soothing relief that comes from the raita. I've just finished tasting 5 biryanis at Nagarjuna and Meghana Foods, and I'm feeling stuffed, to say the least. So what did I think of the biryanis? Well, I thought the biryanis at Nagarjuna and Meghna's were unique in their own way. So for instance, the biryani in Nagarjuna, you could see the spices in the rice, and that rice was flavorful. So whether it was chicken biryani or the mutton biryani, the rice had all that flavor. So although you could see all the spices, the spicing was delicate. It's a sort of spicing that crept up on you. Whereas the Meghana Foods biryanis, you couldn't see any of the spices, but you could taste the robust hit of the masala in the rice, and you could see flecks of the masala in between the rice. It was also the sort of spicing that got you right then and there. So it was also the sort of spicing that was more aggressive than the spicing of the biryani at Nagarjuna's. I've also felt that the biryanis at Meghana Foods left me feeling more fuller. In fact, left me feeling a little heavier. Perhaps it's the number of biryanis that I had tasted at that point. If you're looking for a biryani that's big on flavor, biryani that's robust in its spicing, and if you really like that masaledar kick, I think then the Meghana biryani is for you. I think the Meghana biryani also lends itself, especially the boneless chicken biryani with those morsels of chicken, I think it lends itself better to sharing. So it's a sort of biryani that you could easily share amongst 2 or 3 people. So the kind of biryani would really depend on the type of biryani that you like. So if you're looking for something that is aromatic, that is more delicately spiced, then I think the Nagarjuna biryani fits the bill. But if you're looking for a biryani that's robust, that's masaledar and fills you up, then definitely go for the Meghana Foods biryani. So that's it for this episode of Gourmet on the Road. Until the next one, stay safe and happy eating. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, share and leave a comment. If you'd like to support Food Lovers TV, do log on to foodlovers.in and hit the Support Food Lovers banner. Links in the description below. Happy eating!